Okay, so Evangeline just got bit, and we're on chapter 46. Everything was teeth and breathless pain. Evangeline tried to escape. She tried to cry out. She thought she heard Honora cry out as well, but Chaos didn't release her. One of his hands held her neck while his lips drank her blood. He drank and drank, draining her with violent pulls of his mouth and tongue and the occasional scrape of teeth, piercing more skin and drawing more blood. She could feel it rushing from her veins to his mouth, leaving so fast her heart couldn't keep up. Honora started pleading. Evangeline tried to hit Chaos, but she couldn't muster the strength to move her hands. She couldn't even open her eyes. Her body was heavy and her head was light. All she could feel were Chaos's teeth, cutting deeper to take even more. "Castor, no!" Jack shouted. The vampire was wrenched away. Evangeline started to fall, and then Jax was there. Her eyes were too heavy to open, but she could feel him. He held her with a type of intensity that only happens when a person wants something that isn't quite theirs. But she was. She just needed to tell him she loved him. "Evangeline," his voice was hoarse. "Come back to me." "I'm not dead," she tried to say, but there was something wrong with her throat, and it seemed Jack couldn't hear her thoughts. He silently held her tighter and pressed his forehead to hers. She wasn't sure if he was crying or if she was, but there was wet on her cheeks. It felt a lot like tears, and then she felt nothing. I know that's not it. What? What? A tormented scream pierced the night like a blade. The sky bled and darkness fell instead of stars, erasing lights across the magnificent night. What? What is this? What is this? Hold on. What is this? I'm about to read this. I don't know what this is. I'm about to read this too. I don't know what this is, but it's kind of like here. First, oh, that thing said the end, y'all. That's it. And then there's this. It doesn't have a chapter or anything. We about to read it. Shoot, I don't care. The story curse that touched most northern tales and ballads watched. This tragedy would certainly be a tale one day, and from the look of it, was already cursed. The girl was dead. If her lifeless body had not confirmed it, then it would have been made clear by the horrible scream of the fate who held her in his arms. The story curse was familiar with pain, that this was agony, the sort of raw grief that was only seen once in a century. The fate was every tear that anyone had ever shed for lost love. He was pain given form. "I'm so sorry, Jax. The vampire looked down at the girl he just killed. He scrubbed the hand over his jaw, and then he fled. The fate didn't move. He didn't let the girl go. He looked as if he never would. He continued holding her as if he could return her to life with the force of his will. His eyes were wet with blood. Red tears fell down his cheeks and onto hers, but the girl didn't stir. The other sleeping immortals were starting to wake, but the girl remained unmoving, dead, and yet the fate continued to hold her. "Bring her back," he said softly. "I'm sorry," said the queen, who just awoken. She was a petite thing. She tried to pull her son away from the girl to stop his unnatural feeding, but her hands were not strong enough. The queen could not fight immortals physically, but she had an iron will forged of metal and mistakes. "You know I cannot do that." The fate finally looked up. "Bring her back," he repeated, for he also possessed an indomitable will. "I know you can do it." The queen shook her head remorsefully. My heart breaks for you for this, but I will not do this. After bringing back Castor and seeing what he became, I vowed to never use that sort of magic again. Evangeline would be different. The fate glowered at the queen. No, she repeated. You wouldn't be saving this girl, you would be damning her, just as we did to Castor. She wouldn't want that life. I don't care what she wants, roared the fate. I don't want her dead. She saved you. You need to save her. The queen took a shaky breath. If the story curse could have breathed, it would have held its breath. It hoped the queen would say yes, yes, to bringing her back, to turning her into another terrible immortal. Despite what this fate believed, the girl would be horrible. The ones with endless life always were eventually. I am saving her, the queen said quietly. It is kinder to let her die a human than to sacrifice her soul for immortality. At the word sacrifice, something sparked in the fate's cold eyes. He held the girl tighter, carrying her in his blood-stained arms as he stood and started down the ancient hall. What are you doing? A crack of alarm showed in the queen's implacable face. I'm going to fix this. He continued marching forward, holding the girl close as he carried her back through the arcs. The angels who had been guarding it now wept. They cried tears of stone as the fate set the girl at their feet and began wrenching stone after stone from the ark. Jacks of the Hollow, warned the queen. Those arc stones can only be used one time to go back. They were not created for infinite trips to the past. I know, Jax growled. I'm going to go back and stop your son from killing her. The queen's face fell. For a moment, she looked as old as the years she'd spent lying in a suspended state. That is not a small mistake to fix. If you do this, time will take something equally valuable from you. The fate gave the queen a look more vicious than any curse. There is nothing of equal value to me. Why can't I keep going? And there's another chapter. What is this? This thing says chapter what? This thing says chapter 44. I don't even know where this comes from. I don't even know what I'm reading right now. What is this? Evangeline was beginning to fear that time was fueled by emotions and that things like dread made it move faster. There was a curvy black glass clock atop the fireplace mantel in Jack's room. Her palms started to sweat as she watched the spinning of the second hand twirling faster and faster each minute. Soon it would be nightfall. Soon she would forget him. She would forget this version of her life. The door creaked open. Evangeline looked away from the clock to find Chaos standing in the doorway. He was dressed more like a warrior than a prince in red velvet. Okay, let me look at it. Is this actually chapter 44? She might even have entered a different life. She would know. Okay. I will forget this version of her life. Where is that? She might have an entirely different life. Is that what it said? I guess it's a little different. Maybe got some things that was not put in the other one. I don't know. I don't care. He was dressed more like a warrior than a prince in red velvet and leather and gilded weapons. There was only one other time she'd seen him in something aside from leather armor, yet she couldn't shake the sense she'd seen him dressed like this before. Ready, princess? No. Evangeline blurted. She would never be ready to have her life erased and replaced. Don't we need to wait for Jax? She stole what she hoped was a covered glance down the hall in search of the errant Prince of Hearts. He won't be joining us, Chaos said. I'm going to bring him the stones after you've opened the ark. Actually, I changed my mind. Jack swaggered down the hall, a stunning young woman at his side. She had painted red lips, shimmering black hair, and a slip of a dress that didn't even look like enough to be a nightgown. Evangeline felt a surge of jealousy and confusion. What is she doing here? Chaos gave a tight nod to the girl in the slip. Jack shrugged. I thought you might need a snack when you get your helm on. Chaos made a sound like grinding teeth. I'll be fine. I'm sure you will, but no, Chaos said sharply. What if we just leave her in the carriage? Jax waved a thoughtless arm at the girl. She didn't even move. Doll-like, the girl stared straight ahead, clearly under Jack's control. I agree with Chaos, Evangeline said. I won't let you drag this poor girl around. I'm hardly dragging her around. Jax flashed a dimple at the girl. Isn't that right, pet? I'm happy to be here, the girl said cheerfully. I've always wanted to meet a vampire. I wore this dress so there would be lots of places. Get rid of her, Chaos interrupted. Evangeline doesn't want the girl to come with us. Jax glared at Evangeline, but something about it was off. The firm set of his mouth was angry, but his eyes were filled with something else. Pain. You're picking the wrong thing to be stubborn about, he thought to her. Why do you even care how I feel? She thought back tartly. It's not as if I'll remember any of this anyway. Jax worked his jaw. She hoped that he would argue with her. She hoped that he would fight for her. She hoped despite everything that he would choose her, but after dismissing the girl, Jax and Chaos and Evangeline walked in silence to the carriage. Next scene. The ride of Wolf Hall was excruciating. Evangeline's heart felt especially fragile in her chest as they drew closer to the castle. These were her last moments with Jax, and although he sat across from her, he wouldn't even look at her. He stared out the frosted window as if he wished the night were already over and the past were already changed. Evangeline wished he'd have second thoughts about his plans, but he looked more unyielding than ever. She wished she knew what to say to make him change his mind, but she didn't want to convince him to do anything. She wanted him to make the choice, and she feared she was running out of time. Instead of time moving like sand slowly pouring through an hourglass, she felt as if the hourglass had cracked open and all the sand was quickly spilling out. She didn't know if it was her fear or if it was something else, but she kept losing moments. She didn't recall arriving at Wolf Hall, but suddenly they were there. Then it was as if she'd blinked and they were back at the library door with the wolf head on it, ready to enter the room with the gallery open. No. I mean, these are chapters that we already read, but I'm going to read them, not today. I'm so hurt for Jax. He said there's nothing that's equal. There's nothing of equal value. Not him saying, Evangeline, come back to me. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm kind of stuck right now. Okay, until next time, good night, y'all.